said that when she watches Lori in court, she's looking to see if there's something off with her. But she doesn't see anything off with her because I guess she keeps looking for that because she says she's had every fear of where they can be. So then the reporter asked Melanie if she visited them in Rexburg before she moved to Rexburg, if she visited Lori and the kids. And she said she did go visit for the weekend one time, and I guess Lori told her that Tylee was with friends, and JJ is either doing some type of therapy or with a nanny or in school that will help him. So she didn't ask because she always trusted Lori. And plus she knew they moved to Idaho because she was being threatened by this big bad monster Kay. Like, that's another thing I gotta do a video because Kay came out and she basically responded to this accusations of her threatening them because of what even Lori's sister and mom said about, Kay threatening them. And I guess she turned over all these emails of the supposed threats, and they're not threats at all. So, I mean, there's more lies that Lori's telling. And so I guess we can't blame Melanie or her mom or sister because I'm sure that's just what Lori's telling them. Oh my God, Kay's threatening us so bad. And I'm sure it all boils down to jealousy because Kay was the beneficiary. So Lori probably hates Kay for that. So she's just making up so much stuff. Oh my God, she's threatening us. Why would they have any reason to think that Lori's lying about that, I guess? So I guess we can't blame them. I mean, Lori's the one lying, telling them that. But yeah, I wanted to do a video. Maybe I'll get one out here in a little bit where Kay responds and you see the emails and there's no threats. It's so ridiculous. Back to her visit in Rexburg. So if Melanie was staying with her for the weekend, right, wouldn't she be sleeping there? She'd be staying overnight. She'd be sleeping in the apartment with Lori, right? So she would see that Tylee and JJ weren't sleeping there. So I guess it's easy to say, oh, Tylee's just sleeping at her friend's house, spending the night at her friend's house. Okay, that's believable. That's believable. But how do you explain where JJ is? Because if you think JJ was in therapy or at school or with a nanny, obviously he wouldn't be sleeping at school or at therapy or with a nanny. He wouldn't be staying overnight. He would have to come home to sleep. So I'm sorry. That should have made her wonder and to ask Lori, well, where's JJ? Well, I mean, where's he sleeping? Come on now. I don't believe that I don't believe that. I don't believe that you didn't know where they were and that you just didn't ask Lori. And then when she moved to Rexburg, when Melanie ended up moving to Rexburg, she said she didn't see them at all. She barely saw Lori. She saw Alex every day. Alex helped Melanie move the first week in November. She was busy getting her stuff moved in and set up and getting her home ready, she said. And she said Lori was doing her own thing and that she spent most of her time with Alex. And she said Lori was still moving in and she did see a room set up for Tylee and JJ. So the reporter asked Melanie when did she find out that there was an investigation. Melanie said the detectives came to her apartment early November. She thinks around the second week in November. Police knocked at her door and so I think she said that Officer Hermosillo, I always say it sounds weird when I say that. Why can't I say that right? Hermosillo. So the police knock at her door and Hermosillo asks if she knows who lives next door. Melanie said she thinks Alex's name is on the lease. So sometimes her uncle is over there, she said, and sometimes her aunt is over there. But wait, why would Alex's name be on the lease of Lori's apartment? Because didn't Lori, Alex, and Melanie all have their own apartment? So was Alex's name on Lori's apartment and on his own? And Melanie says she didn't know what that was all about. So she didn't know what it was all about that the cops came to her door. But you think she would have went to Lori and been like, hey Lori, it's just kind of weird. The cops came to my door and asked about who lived in your apartment. Why? I mean, wouldn't that make you wonder and start questioning and then maybe start wondering where her kids are and realizing, wait, something's not right. Well, where's Tylee and JJ? Because why are these cops coming? I mean, that didn't ring some kind of bell in your head like, why are these cops coming knocking on my door asking about this apartment? So anyway, she said that was her first encounter with the Rexburg police. And then right before Thanksgiving, Melanie was driving down to Arizona to meet Ian's family at Thanksgiving, and she gets a text from Lieutenant Ball that says someone has broken into your home, and I need you to call me right away. And Melanie's first thought was it was her ex. She said because she knew he had hired a private investigator, so she thought he sent someone to break into her home. And so Melanie didn't know what to text back, so she kind of waited to text back. So she did end up finally texting back later that she is with people she loves and that it's okay if anything was taken. But I guess she later found out it was the Rexburg police. They had knocked down her door and taken her things. So when Melanie got it back into town, she went to the police station to get her things, and she talked to Detective Hermosia, and he asked her about her marriage and about Lori. And Lori and Chad had left town around the same time Melanie went to Arizona. So that same time where the police knocked down her door, I'm thinking it was because they went to go find Lori. Lori escapes. You know, they go to Lori's the first day, and basically they lie and say that JJ was, first of all, they said, I think Alex or Chad, or one of them first says that he was at basically Kay's, his grandparents. And they said, no, that's who called for this welfare check. And then Lori said, oh yeah, he's with our friend in Arizona. Well, when they find out that that was a lie, the next day they come back and Lori and Chad's gone. So I think that's when they knocked down Melanie's door, because they probably went to Melanie's and Alex's apartment, knocking, trying to find Lori, and I'm sure that's when they knocked down her door, took her stuff. So they're trying to find this missing kid. So, I mean, it makes sense to me. They know, well, okay, his aunt lives here, his uncle lives here. I mean, they want to check all the places. Nobody's answering the door. They probably knocked down all the doors. Yeah, and then I noticed, remember how on that Dateline interview, Melanie was like, when the interviewer asked her, well, didn't you think that was weird that they just took off the next day after, the cops came looking for JJ, and then the next day they're gone, and they go to Hawaii? And Melanie's like, no, because they were planning on moving. That was planned. That was planned. They had that plan. They were planning on moving to Hawaii that day. That was planned. So no, that's not weird. But then in this interview, I catch her where she says, I think it was a planned move. And she's so sure in the Dateline interview. Why would she use that word? I think it was a planned move. Because it's all a freaking bunch of lies. And sometimes it's hard to keep track of all your lies. And then again, she says she didn't know when they were going to move. So it's almost like she's not able to keep track of all these lies. So this reporter even asked, don't you think that looks suspicious that they moved the day after that they were looking for JJ? And Melanie says, yes, it looks suspicious, but I know they planned to move, but she didn't know exactly when they were going to move. But that Dateline, she was so sure, and no, that was the exact day they were going to move. It was like she was so sure that, at least she was saying that she was so sure that no, it wasn't weird at all, because she was going to move that exact day. Yep, she was going to move that day. Like, she was saying it as a fact, and she knew it. And here she's saying, well, I know they plan to move, but I just don't know exactly when. And then right before that, she says, I think it was a planned move. So what's all this? All these conflicting things here. And then the reporter asks her, where do you think JJ and Tylee are? And she said, I don't know. But she says she has had every fear in the world of what could have happened. And most of December, after Lori and Chad had just disappeared, this is when she had all this fear. But wait. I thought they didn't disappear. Remember you said they planned that move on that day? I mean, that Dateline, that was so... I'm going back to that Dateline interview. But when they said, aren't you concerned about... isn't that weird? Doesn't that make you wonder? I forget the exact words on Dateline, but she said, no, because they planned that move. And now she's saying that she was scared, and most of December she was scared because Chad and Lori just disappeared. And then you also said, back to this interview again, you said that you didn't have a phone number for them or contact information. And so you're thinking the worst. But back to Dateline, no, I'm not, no big deal. They planned on moving that. No, I knew they planned it. Nope. I'm not thinking anything bad. That was a plan. They were planning on going to Hawaii. That was the day they were planning on going. So no, it's not a big deal. Oh, shoot. And also, if you're all worried about, oh my God, they didn't give me a phone number, they didn't give me any contact information, but why are you going from no doubt that she would never hurt the kids? I mean, you go on, you've said in this interview and the Dateline interview, oh, she would never hurt the kids. She always protects her kids. And now you're saying they disappeared and she has no contact and that she's thinking the worst. But if you know for sure she would never hurt her kids, why are you even thinking the worst? See, to me, that makes me think that you are having some doubt, that you do have doubt that she would hurt her kids. Because you're scared right now, you're thinking the worst, you're saying, when she disappears without a phone number, when she disappears from her apartment, not a plan to move. Maybe she was planning on moving to Hawaii, but not that day. That's what I'm thinking. They were planning on maybe going to Hawaii, but not that day. But they made it that day because they knew the cops were coming back, and they don't have the kids. But anyway, is it just me, or are these two different situations here? Her always protecting her kids. Oh, she planned it. It's okay to, oh my God, I'm thinking the worst. She disappeared, no phone number. To, oh, planned move. No, it's not a big deal. I'm not suspicious at all. She would never hurt them. They're just going to Hawaii. I mean, these are two different situations here. But anyway, so Melanie says she gets a phone call from one of Lori's old friends. And I guess this friend is worried, thinking this happened or that happened, and supposedly filling Melanie's head with all these things that basically that she thinks Lori did and what she did with the kids. And you're saying that scared you, right? But once again, it shows this doubt because you are preaching throughout both of these interviews how, oh, Lori would never hurt her kids. She's always protected her kids. To once again, you're saying that you're scared now because of what her friend's saying. But if you're so sure about Lori, you wouldn't be. I'm sorry. This just doesn't make me feel very good about Tylee and JJ's safety. So Melanie said she did see all the texts from Kay after Charles died, and she knows who Lori is, though, and Lori has always been someone with a plan. She has always done everything to protect her kids. There she goes, about protecting her kids again. Melanie said absolutely she was worried about what happened to the kids. She said she would tell Ian her worries. Like, what if this happened, or what if that happened? But it's just, do you see how that's not going along with the fact that you're saying that you know Lori would never do anything and she would always protect her kids? Yet you're having these doubts, like to Ian even, like, oh my God, what if she did this? What if this happened? So to me, it's just saying that you don't know that she would never harm her kids. You're having doubts and you don't know that for sure. That's what it's telling me. And this inconsistency that you have between these interviews and within the same interview is making me doubt your credibility. Like, I'm sorry, but I don't know. I'm having trouble believing anything you say. Not only because of these inconsistent things between interviews and within the same interview, all these inconsistencies, but just you can almost tell in certain things that she's not being honest. Let me know what you guys think. Melanie does not seem like she's being honest at all. And then on top of that, there's some things where we know she's not, so that doesn't help. It's just making me doubt everything. Like, I feel like I don't believe anything she says because of all these lies. So the reporter asked Ian about the stuff Ian wrote down in the document and what he told FBI. Ian wrote this after he told Melanie that he had been talking to FBI and recording her. He said his purpose was to protect her. Ian said at the time he thought something dark had happened to Tylee and JJ. Well, wonder why. If you read what was in the document, you know why. Because it's what Melanie was saying. And it did come from Chad and Lori. At least that's what she told Ian, and that's what Ian told the FBI. And then she sits here and tries to lie about it. So Ian says how Brandon contacted his wife, Natalie, saying that Melanie is in a cult. Chad is the cult leader, and they tried to kill Brandon, and they killed Charles. So Ian hears this after Melanie's door got kicked in. So Ian starts doubting, like, what did I get myself into? Yeah, Ian, I think you should still be doubting. So Ian says as he really looks at it, he sees that there's really nothing proven that Tylee and JJ came to any harm. Yeah, but there's nothing proven that they're safe either. I mean, there's nothing proven anything because Lori and Chad haven't said anything. So there's nothing either way because we don't know anything because they won't say a freaking word. Ian said he's gotten to know Summer and Janice, Lori's sister and mom, and hearing about Lori and her experiences and everything she's gone through, he starts to see that maybe there's some reasoning about what's going on. Of course, I mean, this is Lori's crazy family. Of course they're going to stick up for her, and of course they might think it's normal what she's doing, and it's okay, because they don't set very good standards. I mean, look at some of this, like her mom thinking that she's above paying taxes. I mean, and then Ian goes on to say he never really was concerned about her. It's not what it looks like in those documents that you were kind of freaking out, even to your ex-wife, about, scared for your children's safety and your ex-wife's safety, which you should be. And you even recorded Melanie. So I think you were concerned about Melanie and you were concerned about Lori. So Melanie said when Charles filed for a divorce, he brought a document over. And I guess Lori found some purchasing on his computer and a lot of women. And she goes to say how Charles has never said a bad thing about Lori ever. Just like her mom said. Oh, he never ever said a bad word about her until she accused him of cheating. And then that's basically, they're trying to argue that the only reason he's saying this stuff about her is because she accused him of cheating. And so, yeah, so Melanie's saying, oh, he would worship her. And then she found out he was cheating and confronted him about it, and he flipped. But like I was saying about the interview with her mom and sister, I feel like the fact that he never has said anything bad about her, I feel like that's an argument for that. Like, yeah, that makes you believe him even more, because the fact that he never usually says anything bad, so because normally he doesn't talk bad about her, so therefore he probably lets the small things go, but this was too big to let go. So I just think I would be more prone to believe in him because the fact that he never usually says anything bad about Lori, but now he is saying all this stuff, like I said, because he probably lets a lot go. He loves her, and he probably just lets the little things go. But this is a big issue now. Like, he's seeing some major mental, something just not right. Like, her thoughts are just crazy, and he's really concerned and really worried about her. I mean, look, she's saying she thinks he has a demon inside, and it's not even him. And there's documents, there's emails showing these crazy thoughts. So he's not making this stuff up. So, yeah, the fact that it's not like she's going around like always complaining about Lori and always saying that. Then it's just like, oh, that's just what he does. I don't believe him. He's always saying this stuff about Lori. But the fact that he never is and now he is because this is a serious issue. And he sees, okay, wow, like, she has changed. She needs help. This is a serious thing here. To me, it makes it more believable, the fact that he's never said a bad word about her, and he worships her, and now something big comes up and he can't just keep quiet because it's pretty serious. But it does make me think that Janice and Summer and Melanie kind of all got together because I just feel like they kind of almost agreed on what they would say in a way, because they're saying like the same stuff, like, oh my God, he never said a bad word until she accused him and he would worship her, and it's just like the same thing. So Melanie said that Charles showed Melanie that email that Chad wrote about the light-dark levels. So Charles is seeing that email about these levels, so he's probably seeing a lot more emails than we have yet. That I'm sure there's more going to be leaked, but that we have so far, there's probably more of them. And also the fact that Lori was telling Charles that Lori thought he was taken over by Nick Schneider. So yeah, to me it makes sense why Charles was saying that Lori lost it and needed help. So Melanie said he was saying all this stuff. He told everybody in the family and took JJ away. But I don't blame him for taking JJ away. With all of her talking all this crazy stuff. But it sounded like Charles actually really wanted her to get help. Like he really wanted her to go and get some medical help and some mental help. Yeah, he took JJ away just until she was more stable and she got some help because, I mean, look, now JJ's missing. He had that was a good decision, I think, to not let her be with him because where is he now? So yeah, he's hearing all this stuff she was saying and he came to the conclusion that she needs some mental help and that maybe she isn't mentally stable enough to take care of JJ. To me, it doesn't seem like he was doing it to get back at Lori, like for saying he was cheating on her. To me, it was because Lori actually really was saying those things. There are documents and messages and emails to back up what he was saying is true. So Melanie is claiming that Charles and her ex are narcissists. Yeah. So she's calling them narcissists. And Melanie also mentions about how Summer calls Alex to go stay with Lori. The story that Summer told in the Dateline interview about telling Alex to go over there because she had a feeling Charles was going to do something. So Melanie even mentions that. Says, yeah, she called Alex and told him to go stay with Lori because she was worried about that Charles would do something in the morning when he comes over. But someone mentioned this in the comments, and it was a good point. Now I can't remember who said it. I'm sorry. I would love to give you a shout out, but my memory just left my mind. But anyway, it was a good comment too. They said, okay, so if this really happened that Summer told Alex to go over there because she was afraid that Charles was going to do something, then why didn't Alex or Lori say something to the police about this? Because this would go along perfectly with the whole self-defense thing. You know, if this was true, why didn't they bring it up to the police? How they just had a feeling that something bad was going to happen. Because, you know, Charles was talking crazy or threatening her or whatever. Well, I guess I don't know. Maybe then it would look like they should have done something to stop it rather than, I don't know. I'm trying to think of reasons why they wouldn't have said that. Because I'm thinking, well, maybe that wouldn't look good because then the cops would be like, well, why didn't you call the police before, if you knew this was coming, you shouldn't have let him in, or you should have called the police, or, well, I don't know. But it is a good thought. Oh, so Melanie talks about why Lori was smiling and joking around and acting all weird after Charles was shot. And Melanie says, well, I know Lori, and when she's nervous, she'll smile and try to make light of it. What do you mean make light of it? Make light of shooting someone? Why would you even want to make light of a situation like that? That is the stupidest thing to say. That she'll smile to make light of it? That's something that you don't need to make light of. When somebody dies and somebody shoots somebody, that you want to make light of it? Like, I don't know. That don't seem right to me. So she says the things that Charles said, that Lori said, Melanie says that she's never heard her say. But first of all, we are starting to get emails and documents to kind of prove that Lori probably did say that stuff. And second of all, well, we know what Ian said in those documents to the FBI, and we're going to go through some of those. So that's a lie, Melanie. I don't know, we'll get to that. But anyway, then when Melanie said that she thought it was a setup by Charles, and she mentions that he sold life insurance, I don't understand what she means by a setup. I mean, what would he be setting up? Having a life insurance policy and changing the beneficiary? How is that a setup? Why is that a setup? I'm confused. And he changed it because Lori and him were separated. They were going to get a divorce. And he didn't like how she started talking all this crazy stuff and was worried with JJ being with her. And he was worried that Lori and Alex might try to kill him. So if that happened, she would have custody and she would be the beneficiary to that money, which Charles wanted it to basically have that money go towards providing and helping JJ because it costs a lot of money. So therefore, if Lori had it, it's like he probably didn't trust Lori with all that money or trust her to take care of JJ and provide for him. So therefore, he probably figured, well, if Lori didn't have all that money, then maybe she would end up giving him up to Kay because she wouldn't she couldn't afford taking care of JJ, and then he felt safer with JJ being with Kay than Lori. But anyway, about this whole setup thing. So Melanie's saying it's a setup, but it's his own business who he wants to make beneficiary. Well, I mean, why is that a setup? It's not a setup. I can see maybe if they were still together and they were still married and happily married, and she thought, she was the beneficiary, and they were, it was like a good marriage and there was no divorce or separation going to happen, and then he goes behind her back and changes it. Then I can understand if Lori was a little upset, but still, it's still his right to do whatever he wants. But the fact with everything how it was, how is that a setup? I don't get that. I don't blame Charles for doing that at all. Charles wanted someone mentally stable to take care of JJ. Plus, he knew Lori and Alex were going to try to kill him. He said it multiple times to multiple people. So if anything was a setup, her and Alex shooting Charles was the setup. So Melanie claims that the whole zombie and all those weird beliefs came from a disturbing phone call she got from one of Lori's friends, telling her that Lori and Alex did something to Tylee and JJ. Well, she thinks that they did something to Tylee and JJ. She thinks Lori and Chad did something to Tylee and JJ. And she goes on to say that Lori lied to Melanie. So when the reporter kind of asks, well, did Lori and Chad tell you about these beliefs, the whole zombie thing, all that information that Ian told the FBI, that basically Melanie told him, and it came from Melanie and Lori and Chad. But anyway, Melanie says in this interview that Lori and Chad didn't tell her about those things, about the zombies and all that other stuff that Ian told the FBI. So is she calling Ian a liar? So, okay, first of all, Melanie says she wants the truth out there, right? She says at the beginning of the interview, I just want the truth. I want I want the truth to come out and be open. But she doesn't seem to be able to answer anything. She doesn't know where the kids are. She can't speak to Lori because Lori's in jail. She hasn't talked to Lori since December. She can't say what Chad and Lori believe. What do they believe? Oh, I don't know. They don't believe that. That didn't come from Chad and Lori. That came from her friend. I don't know. Can't tell us that information. But yet we're supposed to believe that for sure that the kids are safe. You know for sure that Chad and Lori wouldn't, Lori, I guess you say, wouldn't harm the kids. And she's a wonderful mom. When you said yourself that she disappeared and didn't have a phone to contact her. But you can assure us that you know Lori so well that you know that she would never do anything to the kids, and that these crazy beliefs aren't what Chad and Lori believe, because they don't go along with the LDS teachings, and Chad and Lori always go along with the LDS teachings. So where have you showed us the truth? Where have you showed us the answers? Where have you been open with us in these interviews? Okay, so let's talk about the biggest monkey in the room here. What Ian said in those documents compared to what Melanie is saying in this interview. And seriously, his facial expressions say it all. I mean, just watch him. I mean, he doesn't take his eyes off of Melanie. He just is looking at her the whole time. Okay, so Melanie claims in this interview that these crazy beliefs did not come from Lori and Chad. That she did not believe them, that Melanie didn't believe these beliefs, but let's go through these documents. Let's go through what Ian said in these documents real quick here. We'll do like a summary of the documents that he turned over to the FBI and police. So when Melanie began, this is what Ian writes in those documents to the FBI. He says, when Melanie began sharing all of these things with me, I tried to keep an open mind. I only met her 4 days previous, but felt very comfortable around her. I believe there's more to the gospel than what I've seen so far, but I never thought it would sound like this. The ideas seemed harmless at first, and she sounded pretty certain of some of them. She talked about how she learned some of these things in the temple and others from Lori and Chad, which she said more than once in this interview that she didn't hear any of this stuff from Lori and Chad. These were just stuff that Lori's friend was paranoid about and saying that she's just making up these beliefs, basically. And Melanie says over and over that she didn't believe those beliefs. She didn't believe any of that weird stuff. That was just her friend saying this stuff that making up stuff, basically. So remember, this is Ian talking. He says, upon first meeting Chad and Lori, I didn't get a bad impression of them, but they did seem different. They explained how they would be going to Hawaii, and later Melanie explained porting, that they could travel there by that method. So teleporting. The first time hearing all these new beliefs was a jolt. I was looking for someone spiritual, but this was a leap beyond that into concerning territory. I had fears and doubt, but I trusted Melanie and wanted to give it a fair chance. So I continued to listen and ask questions in hopes it would click for me. It never did. It felt like many of the ideas were ripped straight out of Dungeons and Dragons manual. Between the stats, accounts of dark and light weapons, and words spoken in blessings, it sounded like someone had created a tabletop RPG based on the Bible. We married faster than any sane couple would, but we both felt it was right. On our wedding night, she began to elaborate on the ideas she shared earlier about her children coming to her. She explained zombies and her fears about what Chad and Lori stated concerning their original spirits being caught in limbo until the body's death. She stated that Brandon had been possessed by a demon or another dark entity sometime after June of this year. She was told either through revelation or by Chador that something would happen to him, that something needed to happen to him in order for his spirit to progress and for the Lord's plan to continue. So more things that she denies in the interview. She says no, those were not her beliefs, or Chad or Lori's, and that they didn't come from them, that they all only believe the LDS beliefs. How are we supposed to believe anything she says? Now, I mean, she lies about this. Another lie. So, it's just making everything she says so hard to believe. Well, all the lies we're catching her in, and then anything else that we're not sure if they're lies or not, it just makes it, I feel like they're all lies just because there's so many that we're seeing that are lies for sure. It's just making me think that I'm just having trouble believing anything she says, I guess. And that explains Ian's constant look at her, because he's probably thinking, what the heck did I get into? Just like he says in the documents, what did I get myself into? Because he's seeing how she's lying about everything, because he knows the truth. He wrote it in the documents, so he knows, and he's watching her lie. So Ian goes on. I'll just kind of sum it up a little bit in the documents. Like I said, if you want the whole documents, I'm going to link my video in the description where I read out all of it. I read the messages between him and Natalie, and the one from Natalie to Brandon's associate. So it's pretty interesting stuff. But anyway, so Ian explains religious beliefs that Melanie allegedly shared with him early on in their relationship in the fall of 2019. One subject was zombies, meaning human bodies that have had their original spirits forced from them and have been possessed by either a demon or a disembodied spirit or a worm slug. And this is from what Melanie's sharing, basically saying these are her beliefs when she's sharing them with Ian. So I guess she said they think spirits can be pushed from their bodies during traumatic events or deadly injury. Spirits pushed out are trapped in limbo as the body they're tied to is still living but cannot be occupied by them anymore. And then Ian writes, this is where things started becoming concerning to me. She shared the idea that Chad and Lori could have directed Al to take a shot at Brandon. She later was given the impression that the bullet needed to move 5 inches so as not to hit Brandon. Initially, to me, it sounded like this was told to her by Chad. The discussion moved to Chad and Lori's missing children. At the time, only JJ was counted as missing, and the Rexburg PD had conducted raids on Melanie's apartment, along with Al's. Melanie had been told that by Chad and Lori that their children had been possessed and had become zombies. Let me read that again to you. Melanie had been told by Chad and Lori that their children had been possessed and had become zombies. This is coming right from Ian in his documents to the FBI and the police. So remember, she says in this interview that those beliefs did not come from Chad and Lori or herself, but they came from Lori's paranoid friend. And if Chad and Lori told Melanie this stuff and Melanie told Ian, how can Melanie feel so sure that Chad and Lori would never harm Tylee and JJ if they're sitting there telling Melanie that they are zombies? So right there, makes me think Melanie's just flat out lying straight to everybody's face about this. About her knowing Lori would never harm the kids when she knows they would, because she knows these crazy beliefs that it sounds like Melanie believes too, or believed at one point. I mean, they're coming straight from Lori. So back to the document. So Ian says she shared concerns that she's been told Brandon needed to die, and that may indicate that Tylee and JJ needed to die as well. She told me she was worried that Al may have had to take care of the kids. Wow, she is telling Ian this, and now she's getting in front in this interview, basically flat out lying to everybody. What a liar. So she says in the interview that she only considered that it was Alex shooting at Brandon for a second because the police mentioned it. And then she decided, oh, it was only mentioned because Brandon was accusing Alex, and that Brandon was lying. Who's the one lying? So back to what Ian said. Okay, Ian's talking about Melanie here. She says, she told me she was worried that Al may indicate that Tylee and JJ need to die as well. She told me she was worried that Al may have had to take care of the kids. She explained that Al had great faith and never wavered in his trust in the Lord. No task would be too difficult or great for him. This document that Ian writes also describes the dark church, with Cain being the first dark being to be translated. Cain walks the earth with 50 dark translated beings to prevent the Lord's second coming. Ian also mentioned that 2 police investigators assigned to the Lori Daboll case are dark beings. After Melanie told Ian about these and other beliefs, he reportedly wrote that he tried to keep an open mind. The ideas seemed harmless at first, and she sounded pretty certain of some of them. She talked about how she'd learned some of these things in the temple and others from Chad and Lori. So Ian admits he and Melanie married faster than any sane couple would, but they both felt it was right, and on their wedding night, Melanie began to express concerns about her children. Ian became severely worried about what he was hearing and spent days trying to reassure himself that everything was fine, according to court documents. In the meantime, Ian's ex-wife had reached out to Brandon, and he told her Melanie was in a cult and that she tried to have him killed. Ian's ex-wife contacted him and expressed her concerns, according to court documents. She said she was going to meet with police, and Ian agreed to go with her. What I shared with police were the ideas that Chad, Lori, and Alex may have planned shooting at Brandon, and that Tylee and JJ may be in serious danger if Melanie's fears have any validity. Ian allegedly wrote, if shooting at Brandon was indeed based on the idea that he was no longer actually Brandon and needed to die as a part of the Lord's plan, then the kids' lives could be forfeited based on the idea that they're not really Tylee and JJ anymore. Ian shared other details, said he would cooperate with police and allow them to pull data from his phone. He met with officers the next day, and they gave him a recording device to put on his keychain. My plan was to record anything I thought could help locate Tylee and JJ, locate Chad and Lori, and understand what happened when Brandon was shot at. Ian wrote, if I thought Chad and Lori were going to be calling, I'd turn on the recorder and just let it run until they'd hang up. Ian said nothing substantial was ever recorded with Chad and Lori because they never talked about the missing children. On December 19th, police searched Alex's Rexburg townhouse, and Ian says he admitted to Melanie that he had spoke with officers. I didn't know how she would react, but I couldn't hang on to the stress anymore. Of course she was hurt, feeling betrayed, but she reassured me that she loves me and that she understands why I did it. Ian allegedly wrote what-if scenarios. Over the next week, the couple discussed what Ian had shared with officers, and Melanie allegedly told him she didn't have any proof of what she had told him. They agreed her expressions were what-if scenarios. That's bullcrap. Now, after the fact, now Ian is, trying to go be on the other side and trying to stick up for Melanie now, and basically what he said that she said, I believe what she said, what she really said, and what I believe that Lori and Chad really were telling her, are so crazy, and she would have a lot of questions to answer if they went along, if they admitted that all was true. But to me, Ian why would he be lying to the FBI at the time when he's scared trying to figure out the truth? I believe everything he said in those documents were true. That is what Melanie was saying. And now he's trying to back out of it and make it right with Melanie, number one. Number two, the whole legal issue, because if that was true and Melanie really heard that from Lori and basically in contact with Lori and they were saying this stuff to her, it would kind of make her maybe an accomplice, but maybe not so much an accomplice, but it would make her kind of a part of it where she would need to start answering some questions, because if Lori and Chad are telling her this stuff and she's believing it, I mean, they would probably want to question her and she should answer some questions then. Plus, it would be hard to convince a judge to give her kids, to get her custody of her kids ever, if they admit that she said this stuff. But obviously she said this stuff. Ian wrote this out like an official record to the police and FBI. Obviously it was true, and now they're trying to just make it seem like, oh, those are just what-if scenarios. That didn't happen. Melanie was just saying these what-if scenarios. What do you mean? That don't even make sense. She was saying, oh, I mean, really think about what they're saying. Oh, so about the, okay, for instance, I could see the what-if might fit for if Alex shot at Brandon. That could fit. And her not knowing for sure if what they did to the kids, what if, like, they did something to the kids? Yeah. But those beliefs don't fit into the what-if scenarios. And her saying what Chad and Lori said and some of these beliefs, and Melanie sharing some stuff she believes with Ian, how is that a what-if? Those don't fit into a what-if scenario. It's just, it is what it is. It's stuff that Alex told Melanie. I mean, the fact that, not Alex, that Lori and Chad told Melanie that is not a what if. They obviously told her that. Melanie told Ian that they told her that. But I guess it could be what if, as far as if it's being true, that stuff is true. But obviously the fact that Lori and Chad told Melanie that, and Melanie passed this on to Ian, that part wouldn't fit into what if. Do you see what I'm saying? The only thing that would put in, I feel like it would fall into the what if, is the whole if Alex shot Brandon. It's like, oh, that I could see how she could say, well, I was just saying, well, what if Alex shot Brandon? Because yeah, and Ian never said that. Melanie said that Alex, she knew for sure that Alex shot Brandon, or she knew for sure that they did something to the kids. But it was a fact, the way Ian was saying it, that Melanie said that Chad and Lori basically said the kids were zombies, and Brandon was basically possessed by a zombie. That's not a what if. I mean, Ian wrote it like Melanie said that to him. And even Ian's sitting there like, oh, what I get myself into? These beliefs are crazy. Like, straight out of Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, they just doesn't, the what if doesn't work for all of it. So I just don't believe anything Melanie says. I really don't. She knows way more than what she's leading on. That's just my opinion after seeing her 2 interviews. Is she's full of it. She's lying. She knows a lot more. She's not being honest. We already saw she lied about all this stuff, the beliefs, because she did tell Ian that they came from Lori and Chad. And she was believing some of these. She was sharing them with Ian on their wedding night about her beliefs, and that's why Ian was kind of doubting it. So that's a freaking big lie. And just about the wedding, her wedding and Alex's wedding, there was some kind of lie in there about, oh, either it was a for sure move planned, or I think it was planned, or just all this stuff. She's a liar. I'm sorry. And Ian is just going along with it because he wants to be with her. It looks like he just loves her, but I mean, he just sit there staring at her the whole time, and he knows she's lying, obviously, so looks like he's just going to stick by her side, but he's probably going to have trouble trusting her the rest of his life because he sees how she's a freaking liar. Alright, let me know what you guys think of the interview. Like I said, if you guys haven't seen it yet, I have the part 1 linked in my community tab, and then you could click on the channel and then get the other 2 parts. So yeah, let me know. Probably most of you guys have watched it, so let me know what your conclusion was. If you had some of the same conclusions as me, or they're different than me, let me know in the comments. Alright guys, have a good one. Bye.